Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my long-awaited Devil Jin guide. As you may have seen in the title already, I will be cooperating with InVaines for this one, a very strong Devil Jin player from North America who is at least as knowledgeable as me when it comes to Devil Jin, and you will be seeing a short summary on what you can expect from this guide on your screen right now. So let's get right into it with the first part of it. First off, why play Devil Jin? As per Tekken 8, Devil Jin is as strong as a well-rounded character can be, with super lenient punishment, okayish frames, strong highs like electric and 1-1, you know, this one and this one, mids like up forward 4, 4-4-2, back forward 2-1, 4-4-4 and down forward 1, and most importantly one of the strongest kits of flows among the entire roster, and like the hell sweep, down 3 and down back 2. There are not many weaknesses that will keep you from winning with this character except you as the pilot yourself. Do note that your core game plan with Devil Jin will be reaching the wall and absolutely destroying your opponent with explosive mix-ups and lockdown tools like the CD4-4 Hell Sweep or CD4 1+2 or you know, the Demon Paw, you name it. So like the strengths of Devil Jin are his punishment, his pokes, mids, lows, his high combo damage. He has very high combo damage in this game. With punishment even, they buff that in this game. Evasion, and for example, 4 and back 3. And especially space control. You know, his heat smash, for example, is very notorious for the amount of space control it offers. His biggest weakness in this game, however, is that he has very lacking generics now. His jab damage got nerfed and its range got nerfed, coming from Tekken 7. His down forward 1 has way worse frames and tracking now, and a worse hitbox. And his down 4 only does 6 damage now instead of 7, and is minus 15 on block and minus 4 in hit now. So, you find very little use for this move now. So, let's get right into the second part of this guide, his punishers. And these will be your bread and butter for the rest of your game life with Devil Jin, basically. First off, your 10 frame standing punishers. You got the infamous 1-1-2, which knocks down into some great Oki and gives you 25 damage. It's a very strong 10 frame punish. All Mishimas have a 1-1-2 for a 10 frame standing punish, and you will be using this quite a lot, even for whiff punishing up close. But Devil Jin has multiple 10 frame punishes. He also has 1-2, which will offer you a neat +4 and also 25 damage, just like 1-1-2. And he has the 2-2, which has 29 damage, but is -2 on hit. The damages can make a difference because, let's say your opponent is at 29 HP and just did a -10 move, and you blocked it. The smarter choice here wouldn't be punishing with 1-1-2 and get the Oki after, but rather punishing with 2-2 and then killing your opponent. Just to give you an example why having different punishes for the same frame amount matters. For 12 frames, Devil Jin has a very long range and strong punish in back 1-2. Also offers some Oki, which we will get into later, 30 damage and a neat knockdown. For 13 frames, you got down for 4-4. Now you may ask, why is this relevant? It's worse than back 1-2 in every way, no? But there are some moves in the game that will recover and crouch and are -13. And you're gonna need this to punish those moves, because back 1-2 won't connect, for example. And down 4-4 also has more range than back 1, so it can make a difference in punishing. For 14 frames, and this is new in this game, Devil Jin got back to 3. And this is a heat engager. This punish matters more than you think, because there are quite a lot of -14 moves in this game, and going for the perfect electric launch isn't always feasible. You may or may not drop hit sometimes, and some people also duck after -14 moves against Mishimas because they know they will try to go for the electric punish. And back to 3 is just a way safer choice here. 34 damage and a heat engager, and you love to be in heat with Devil Jin, trust me. And I also already mentioned it, but your other 14 frame choice is the electric itself. And for 15 frame standing, this is unique to Devil Jin, honestly, and to Reina these days too, because she also has a 15 frame standing punisher. Kazuya doesn't have this. Devil Jin has the notorious cans to punish 15 frame standing, or like -15 standing. It's a 25 damage launcher, and as of Tekken 8, he also has some quite neat combo routes from it, which wasn't the case in Tekken 7. So it's a very, very strong punish now. Let's get right into his Y standing punishment though. For 11 frames, you got either Y standing 4 or Y standing 4-4. Back in Tekken 7, you had to choose between getting the plus frame from Y standing 4 or getting the damage from Y standing 4-4, but having to take into account being -4 afterwards. This isn't the case in Tekken 8 anymore. You can just press Y standing 4-4 and take your +4 on crouch for a hefty 30 damage. A very strong 11 frame punish. For 13 frames from Y standing, you got Y standing 1-2 now. His old Y standing 1-4 was removed for both Y standing 1-1 and Y standing 1-2. This is a 27 damage punish, I believe, into a neat Mourning Crow mix-up. And this is a bigger damage punish than you think. It looks like it's only 27 damage, but most of the people will just block the Mourning Crow 1 after. And this is 10 chip damage on block. So all in all, you get 37 damage if you think about it. Not a weak punish at all. But you can still choose between going for the Y standing 4-4 or the Y standing 1-2. You know, guaranteed damage and plus frames and all that. Y standing 1-2 doesn't really offer that strong plus frames on normal hit. Like if you don't choose to go into Mourning Crow. For 15 frame Y standing punish, you got the Y standing 2. This is a full launch from 15 frame and upwards. What can also matter is your back turn punishes. 1-1 down 4-4-4 is fully guaranteed in the back. So is down 4 3-4 fly 1. This is how you will pick up from it. You also got, and this is my favorite back turn punish, 1-3 into the 1+4 pickup. Oops, I dropped it just now. 1 second. This isn't as hard as it looks. This is what it should look like. This is your other back turn punish, and then you also got back 4 2-1-2. But this punish isn't as optimal in this game anymore. Back in Tekken 7 you would get a full launch from this. This isn't the case any longer, so I wouldn't opt for this one anymore. We have now reached the useful moves department, and do note that this isn't the top 10 moves department where I will give you a short summary on what the strongest moves to throw out are. I want to get into a lot of moves Devil Jin has individually, talk about them real quick so you can get a somewhat detailed idea on what use they have, because Devil Jin in this game can make use of a lot of moves. Let's get right into it. First off, you have the single jab. As I said before, his single jab got nerfed quite a bit in this game, in both damage and range. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be using it at all. Jabs still excel at, for example, keep out in neutral, or just keeping your opponent in check in general. It's +8 on hit, +1 on block, and pretty safe on whiff. So you shouldn't be all too afraid to be throwing out the jab. Do note that Devil Jin also has 1-1. You know, the infamous Mishima 1-1. +8 on hit also, -1 on block, which means you can keep up quite a bit of momentum. And you can also finish the 1-1-2 on block for mind game purposes, but do note that this is -17 on block, so launch punishable. Do not throw this out all too carelessly. 1-1-2 gives some great Oki, and it being hit confirmable is super useful. What does hit confirmable even mean? It means that should you connect a 1-1, you have a huge time window to confirm the follow-up, which is guaranteed no matter how much you delay. As long as you press the 2, you will get the follow-up as long as you press it in the correct time window. And 1-1-2 at the wall or in the open, it doesn't matter, it gives great Oki as I said before, and you will need this move a lot to keep your opponent in check as quickly as possible, both in a neutral and as a check. Keep in mind that after +4, for example after CD4-4, your jabs are both unstoppable and unwalkable. This is super useful information to have, because that means you can basically mix it up with, you know, a quick mid instead should they start trying to duck your jabs. More about that later. The moves that I will be listing are ordered in the same way they are ordered in the move list, so do not be surprised if I talk about weird moves all of a sudden. But the next move we're going to be talking about is 4-3. This move is really only relevant in heat. It's a 33 frame mid, and it's really not really worth using over the likes of CD3, since it's really used as an orbital only, but it can be fun to play around with. Wouldn't recommend using this move all too much, except when you're in heat and use it in combos. Then we got 1+2. 1+2 is a 17 frame homing mid-mid, +7 on hit, a wall splat, and -12 on block. It's basically overshadowed by back 4 2-1 in this game, and back 4 2-3, because these moves basically are pseudo homing too. But 1+2 can come in handy at the wall, because of the wall splat. Back 4 2-3 no longer wall splats. It did wall splat in Tekken 7, no longer does in Tekken 8. Due to it being uncancelable now though, it was cancelable in Tekken 7, some characters can parry in between. So be careful when playing against matchups like, for example, Feng. Feng can parry in between the hits of 1+2 and gain even bigger reward than just the -12 blocked move. Next up we got down for 1. This is a 13 frame mid with somewhat good range but horrible frames. It's -6 on block and +5 on hit. No longer tracks the Devil Jin's left reliably as of Tekken 8, so use with a lot of caution. I've also seen this move get evaded quite a bit by evasive launchers, for example Lars up 4-3 or Devil Jin up 4, so you know, not the best mid check to have unfortunately. The follow-up of this, it's a confirmable, well somewhat confirmable, natural counter combo and you know, serves as an anti-mash button for down forward 1. So should they be pressing into your down forward 1, they will get hit by down forward 1 too. I don't think this is really useful in the open, more useful at the wall should you successfully Twitch confirm a counter hit, because it will net you a full wall splat. But the follow-up is pretty much unstoppable both on hit and on block. Duckable though and bad OK in the open, use with a lot of caution. They will definitely duck it at some point and then launch you for using that follow-up. Then here's new down for 2. Devil Jin's down for 2, so you get a short idea. In Tekken 7 used to be a 50 frame mid counted launcher. That was also safe on block and had quite good tracking actually. In this game, it's a heat engager on counter hits because it guarantees Mourning 3-2. Whoops, 1 second. And you have to hold forward for this to get the Mourning Crow transition, and this can be quite hard to build muscle memory for. Even after a full week of Devil Jin after release, I still haven't built the muscle memory to go into Mourning Crow after this consistently. So try to train this as much as possible, because you will get some random down for 2 counter hits here and there. It's safe on block at -9, +14 on normal hit. Has decent range but horrible tracking. Then we got down for 4, one of my favorite mids to use by far. This is a 13 frame long range mid with a delayable, albeit launchable, extension. Down 4-4 alone is -9 on block and +2 on hit, while down 4-4-4 is -50 on block and -4 on crouch on hit. The extension though is visually confirmable, which makes this a quite strong 13 frame mid to throw out, especially as a check, since it also has some quite good tracking after +4 and higher. Next up, we got this Power Crush, down 1. -14 on block, then knocks down and splats at the wall. Has decent range, but the speed makes this move only somewhat usable. There are faster Power Crushes in this game, I believe, and it has some wonky tracking. Like, sometimes just a step block alone will evade this move, and other times I've seen this home to one side, like, hard, like, home my opponent, like, basically beside me. Very, very weird move to use, but it's still worth throwing out from time to time, especially at the wall. Now, we got down 3. It's an 18 frame low poke, -12 on block, -1 on hit, and +7 on crouch and counter hit. Very good range and tracking, hits grounded, almost homing pretty much. This move you will be using a lot after you're +8, which is not that uncommon for Devil Jin. For example, after jab, 1-1, while standing 4, you're +8. And in these situations, you can use down 3 or back 4 as a mid or low mix-up. So this move is quite relevant for Devil Jin. Next to down 3 we got down 4, and I dislike talking about this move a lot since it was nerfed so hard in Tekken 8. This is his generic down 4, 12 frames fast, -4 on hit, -15 on block. Horrible though as of this game, mostly only used as a panic tool in my opinion. Nerf damage, which already cost me quite a lot of rounds because I didn't kill my opponent by 1 damage. Try not to depend on the slow too much. I hate to say it, but this slow is no longer any good in this game. Also had less tracking from what I've seen. Now, we got down 3+4. I've talked about this already. It's basically his 15 frame punish, standing punish, and that's the only use for it pretty much. But You will have to use this also as a whiff punish on moves that recover in crouch, because your electric and back 2 won't connect. So like, for example, if they press a down 4 on whiff, you might have to dash in and press a down 3 plus 4 to whiff punish. You can also use it as a mid mix-up against characters that have no 15 frame launcher from standing. But I wouldn't recommend this all too much, because Devil Jin in this game has very strong mids, and you also got Western too if you really need a launching mid. And this is only minus 12 instead of minus 15. So, you know, the idea is there, but I wouldn't recommend using it as a mid mix-up all too much. Next move in the list is down make 1. This is his generic down jab. Minus 5 on block, plus 6 on hit, 10 frame startup. High crush on the 4th frame, which makes it quite useful when you're trying to keep your momentum, for example, pressing a down forward 1 into down jab to beat their jabs. You know, just a general idea on how to use his down jab. What a lot of people don't know though is that you can transition into standing by doing down back 1 into forward while retaining the same frame delta. So I'm holding forward right now after connecting my down jab, and I can immediately press standing moves. This is a quite useful trick to know. Next up is down make 2. They balanced a lot of moves that he has now around this low. 21 frames, it was 22 in Tekken 7. Minus 13 on block and plus 3 on crouch on hit. Tracks to his right, hits grounded, and has decent range. Knocks down and counter hit, guaranteeing a follow-up. This move, as of Tekken 8, you can get a full throw game off it by pressing, for example, quarter circle back 1 plus 3, which is only possible as of Tekken 8. This wasn't possible in Tekken 7. You can now buffer this move from crouch, and you can also press up forward 1 plus 2 as a 1 plus 2 throw option, or obliteration. Both are possible from down back 2. In order to beat people pressing into your down back 2, you can either press while standing 1-1 and then get a guaranteed morning crowd 2-2 after, or you can press while standing 3. Or, you know, do the generic while standing 4 follow up to be safer but get less reward than while standing 3 or while standing 1-1. You can do a lot from this low, and it's easily his most useful low now, next to health sweep obviously, but the weakness it has is still its speed, sadly. So the more you use it, the more people will become aware of it and try to fuzzy it. Very strong low, you have to use it. I have to admit, you have to use it, but do not overdo it too much with this low. Next up, we got a very interesting move. Down make 1 plus 2. As of this game, down make 1 plus 2 is a guard break. What does guard break mean? Let me show you. 1 second. Guard break means that if they try to block it, you will get a guaranteed follow-up. This 1-1-2 is guaranteed after they block it. And funnily enough, in this game, you also get rewarded for them having the move blocked at the second phase, which was not the case in Tekken 7. You would be very minus after they blocked this. This is his pretty much new tactics at the wall, and you will be plus 17 when they block this when they block the second phase at the wall too. It does nothing when you don't charge it at all, minus 9 on block, but it does something on counter hit, which is pretty interesting. I only recently realized this. You get a full follow-up for this. And this can be pretty important because people try to interrupt this move by pressing into you. What you can no longer do, however, is cancel it into block, which was possible in Tekken 7 and made mind games easier in my opinion. But these days around, you just have to make them guess between the second and third phase. On normal hit and fully charged, this move is a 42 frame wall split or a knockdown. You can release it at any time by releasing 1 plus 2. And you can go into Mourning from it, which is mostly only relevant should they try to stay down against your Dombek 1 plus 2 and Oki. This move is very interesting to use. I would recommend you to experiment around with it as much as possible, because I've had quite a lot of success with it myself, and I think this is a great move to use now in general. Next up we got back 1-2. Already talked about this move too, his 12 frame punish. Minus 14 on block and knockdown or split on hit. Has a cancel that is minus 18 on whiff, so they have to guess whether you cancel or not in order to get reward from you canceling it. And this can be used for mind games, for example. Doing back 1-2 canceling to back 1-2 is just one of many examples. It has a lot of mind game potential if used right, and also note that back 1 will track sidestep right. So like, for example, if they try to sidestep right your last follow-up of back 4-2-1, back 1 would track them should they try to step into pressing a button. Just to give you a general idea on when the tracking can come in handy. Next up we got another very interesting move that was changed with Tekken 8. Back 3. This is a heat engager now. 29 frame backswing blow and basically a panic button. Use with caution because it is launch punishable on block and very linear, but it has so much evasion that throwing it out from time to time to, keep your opponent from using their plus frames can be quite useful. Next up we got back 4. This is still one of his core counter hit moves in this game. 17 frame mid with pushback, -8 on block, +6 on hit. Launches on counter. Wonky tracking though, and decent range. Hits grounded semi-reliably. Doesn't hit grounded as reliably as Kazuya for example. Next up, back 1+4. I-63 mid unblockable. This was more useful in Tekken 7 because it had a version that was faster at I-42, I believe. And it wall split, and people had a tough time reacting to it in time and then interrupting or stepping it. In Tekken 8, I think this move is completely useless. It's super linear, has a few frames of high evasion, and launches at the wall pretty much, but still so slow that everyone will be able to sidestep or interrupt it, and you will just eat a counted move for it or get stepped and eat a full back turn punish. So do not use. Refrain from using. I just wanted to talk about this unblockable real quick because I do know for a fact that at lower ranks, unblockables are still in use here and there. Next up, we got up back 2. This move is also quite interesting. I've had quite a lot of success with this move on Wake Up, for example, because people tend to sidewalk on Wake Up a lot in this game. -4 to -1 on block, covers really fast. Has decent range, homing move as I said, and if used when the wall is to your left, it gives an easy launch with 1+4 into combo. So what it will look like is, let's say the wall is left to me and Devil Jin here, like the opposing Devil Jin. He will fall to my left, and I will be... Wait, let me demonstrate you at the wall. He will fall right next to me, so 1+4 will be a full pickup into combo. Just to give you a demonstration. This move isn't really a key move of yours, but it can come in quite handy as a homing move, especially combined with 1+2, should you really need a homing move to track them down, because some people will insist on sidewalking you. Next up, we got up 4. This is Devil Jin's version of Lars up 4-3. Evasion is less than that of Lars though, has decent range, and tracks sidewalk left. Up 4 is about -38 on block, and Devil Jin can no longer transition into fly from this anymore on block, which he was able to in Tekken 7, which gave him a, well, not really a mix, like not really a block mix-up, but still confused some people here and there, making you get away with murder. This is no longer the case in Tekken 8 anymore. Devil Jin does a backflip and recovers at around range 2.5, but you can't go into fly anymore, so you will definitely eat a launch for this against, well, above intermediate players that studied their punish for this move. Huge damage potential on hit though, and useful to throw it out here and there, especially when you're forced into crouch, because that way the evasion will be even more. Next up, one of his most notorious moves, up for 1. Let's call this move Shackles for now, because we will have to talk about this move multiple times in this guide. Shackles is a long-range I-21 high that tracks sidewalk left fully. So like if I set the bot to sidewalk left after my jab for now, you will see that up for 1 will track him reliably. Does not track at all should he go to the right though, and guarantees a Mourning 2-2 for a full heat engager on normal hit. On block, it only really gives you a mix-up between Mourning 1 and Mourning 2-2, though it's not really a mix-up because both are mids, but if they want reward from guessing right against this situation, they'll have to jab your Mourning 1 out, because it's so slow that you can be jab floatable after up for 1 on block. But to beat that, you can just press Mourning 2-2. So that's pretty much up for 1 in a nutshell. And the Mourning transition will become more relevant as the guide goes on, so keep this in mind. Up forward 3, a very niche move. +3 on block and low crushing mid. It has good range, but no tracking at all. You can use it to spike, which means you can disable the attack roll should you use it in a combo, for example. Let's say, I don't know, let's do this. Oops, I forgot we are on a floor break stage. Anyway, this will disable their tech roll or a floor break, you know, as you've seen right now, because it's a spike. But other than that, there's not really much use to this move, except for the counter it launched. But I don't think this move is that relevant in this game. It was more relevant in Tekken 7 because the low crush and the counter it launched did come in quite handy from time to time. But now that you got 4-4-4, I think up 4-3 is just completely overshadowed, sadly. Next up, up 4-4. One of his most popular mids in Tekken 7 back when it wasn't nerfed. It low crushes at the 8th frame of the move and is a heat engager now. It wall splats on normal hit at the wall, which wasn't the case in Tekken 7, and it slightly tracks sidestep left. Low crushes a frame earlier than your average hop kick, which means that up 4-4 will low crush at frame 8 of the move's startup frames. It is I-18. At the 8th frame, it will start crushing lows, and the average hop kick low crushes at the 9th frame. So when it comes to low crushing, this move is stronger than your average hop kick actually, which is quite useful information to have. Next up, 4-4-2. This will be one of your bread and butter mids in this game. 50 frame long range, normal hit knockdown, or a wall splat, approaching mid. Linear, but it can be made to track better by prolonging the dash. So if I set the bot to sidewalking, for example, let's make him sidewalk to the left. By prolonging the 4-4-2, I will track him. If I don't prolong it, he will be able to sidestep it. You can also use this move from a crouch dash or multiple crouch dashes. It's -8 on block, and the pushback means pretty much a return to neutral unless they're in heat. Every heat smash in this game will track you after this move should you try to move for or do anything after this on block. The pushback at the wall might increase but also decrease. It's a 50-50 in most cases. The pushback on this is quite weird, especially at the wall. But it's still very, very, very useful to throw this out once in a while and even press after having that move blocked. For example, a very popular flowchart is 4-4-2 on block into 1-1-2. I'm not trying to tell you to always flowchart this, but people will have to dash in to take the frame sometimes, especially when the pushback is big. So by the time they've dashed in your face, they will have lost their advantage already, which is quite worth keeping in mind. 4-4-4. 20 frame low crushing mid, safe on block at -6, and knockdown on hit for a full mix-up, because they're +16 and they're forced to stand up. Also a counted launcher, for very high damage. It's very, very long range, but it's also super linear, as you can see here. And unlike 4-4-2, you can't really prolong the forward to track them. They will still be able to sidewalk it. So use with a lot of caution. Can be very strong when used correctly, but having this move sidewalk pretty much means death because they will be in your back. Back forward 2. This is pretty much your go-to tracking move. -9 on block when you use back forward 2 alone. -1 on hit when you use back forward 2 alone. But back forward 2-1 is a natural combo. You can hit confirm back forward 2-1 from back forward 2 alone. Back forward 2-1, however, will be -10, but +1 on hit. -10 on block, instead of -1 on hit. There are 3 extensions you can choose from. Back forward 2-1-4, back forward 2-1-2, and back forward 2-1 down forward 2. The only relevant one, though, however, is back forward 2-1-2 pretty much. Because should they try to punish your back forward 2-1, which is -10 on block, back forward 2-1-2 will hit them instead. And then they will have to guess between either punishing your back forward 2-1 or sidestepping the last hit of your back forward 2-1, which will be back forward 2-1-2 in most cases. It has the same pushback as 4-4-2 pretty much, -8 on block also, but steppable to both sides as of Tekken 8, was only steppable to one side in Tekken 7. Serves as a block mix-up pretty much, as I explained just now, and you will be using this move quite a lot to track people down, especially up close. This is your go-to lockdown move. Back forward 2-3 is the other extension you have from back forward 2, not from back forward 2-1. And this is a Twitch confirmable mid-high that is +9 on hit, -9 on block. It serves as a more rewarding follow-up should you connect a back forward 2. However, they can duck the back forward 2-3 and launch you for it, though there will not be a lot of people trying to duck and launch it since back forward 2-1 exists. These two moves complement each other if you don't feel like confirming all too much, but I would generally recommend trying to confirm back forward 2-1 as much as possible. Next up, the most popular Mishima move by far, the electric. 14 frame high launcher. It's +5 on block, has a lot of pushback, and launches on hit. Normal hit. Has infinite range if you pair it with consecutive crouch dashes. So like if you go in like this, they will have a very hard time trying to backdash this. And it can also rarely go under certain highs, as Devil Jin ducks in the earlier frames due to the crouch dash motion. You have a down input in there, so this will count as a real duck, and you've probably already seen some high crushing electrics before. Some people call it the cooldowns electric. I think if you Google this, you will also find a video on it. But, you know, just in case you wonder why your highest got crushed by an electric before. It can be used as a reliable tracking tool, so long as you use it like 4-4-2, prolonging your dash before using it, or using multiple crouch dashes before it. So what this means is that you have to tie the electric with movement if you want it to become as scary as possible. Very hard to punish on whiff nowadays, since it's only -24 on whiff. Cluelessly throwing it out from time to time won't get you punished that much, but I would try to use this as either a whiff punish or as keep out, because that's when it's the most effective in my opinion. Obviously using it as a tracking tool is very smart too, but I think staying safer with back 4-2 as a mid in these cases is smarter. But you will have to use your electric as both a whiff and block punish a lot. That's just it's just how it is for Mishimas. And again, as keep out, it's also super effective, because if I'm standing here and using a keep out for electric, there's not much they can do. Should they run into me though, they will get launched for trying to dash into me. So, you know, just to give you a general idea on how to use an electric. You can also imagine that you can, like, imagine you're a Steve player, and you're trying to find out how you're gonna use a back 1. It's about the same for the electric, just that it also counter hits movement pretty much. So like, a Steve player will also use back 1 for keep out, for example, standing from this range, and try to keep you from getting in as much as possible. Just to give you an analogy on how to use the electric, for example. Going on with the list, I know this list has become very long already, but I really do want to talk about all these moves individually to give you a rough idea on how to use them. We got CD4 1+2. And this is easily one of the strongest lows in the game. Normal hit launching low special mid combo. That gives a full launch, -23 on block, so we'll stagger. Should you go for the B&B route, you get a neat 53 damage, plus wall carry. Don't get much Oki however, but still 53 damage, and wall carry is very, very, very strong from just hitting a low. That is unseeable. You will have to use this quite a lot for mixing up, and to complement this you also got CD4-4, because CD4 1+2 will create a lot of gray health. You can go back in the video for like 10 or 15 seconds and see how their health bar developed a lot of gray health that is recoverable. This is not the case with CD4-4. This is 38 damage, non-recoverable health, and provides a +4 situation where most of the cast can step up a down 4-4 or down 4 mix-up. I will have to put the bot on sidewalk right, because he can't step to the foreground from being forced into crouch. So as you can see, down 4 tracks, down 4 tracks, and as I've mentioned before, 1-1 will also track, which you can confirm into 1-1-2. CD4 1+2 is your easiest tool to get a launch in neutral and TEKKEN 8, and CD4-4 is your best tool to murder your opponent for eating a low at the wall pretty much. CD4 can also randomly clip sidewalk left from what I've seen, if you do it out of multiple crouch dashes since you're realigning. But do not rely on this move to track sidewalk left at all, not worth it. Just use it as, you know, killing your opponent for not ducking for your strong mids at all. Next up we got CD 1+2. This move will become much more relevant later into the guide, once we talk about Devil Jin and Heat, but on its own I don't think this move is very strong. -9 on block, knockdown on normal hit, and gives a follow-up on counter hit. Super slow. 26 frames, not counting the crouch dash. I don't think this move is very useful when not in Heat. So beware when using this when you're outside of Heat. Why running free? I think Devil Jin doesn't work without this move at all. The reason for that is, this move will track your weak side completely. Should you realign with your wire running properly. Like, if they keep sidewalking, using wiring free is a great choice. Because not only will it track them reliably, it's also +6 on block, knockdown on normal hit, wall splats on normal hit and on counter hit. Like, it doesn't matter, as long as you hit the move at the wall, you will get a wall spread from this. And then, you know, get a lead combo from it. And has very early low crush. Remember how I set it up for 4 low crushes after the 8th frame of startup? This move low crushes at the 3rd frame of startup already. So very, very fast low crush. And has good range. Can be done out of crouch dash by pressing forward, neutral, down, down, forward, up for free. So it's a great pressure option out of your crouch dash too. You can tie this with Hell Sweep pretty much. And people will be confused as to whether you will be pressing the mid or low or not. And having plus frames in this game is very valuable. They did nerf the plus frames coming from Tekken 7. It was plus 9 to plus 12 on Tekken 7. Now it's only plus 6 on block, but still very useful move to have, since you can still down for check them, and it will track them, and also hit their backdash if you're not too far away from them. Next up we got Y standing 1-2. This is, as I said before, your new 13 frame Y standing punish, and it's minus 11 on block and plus 6 on normal hit, should you not transition into Mourning Crawl. I think this move is not very useful to throw it in the neutral, but the general idea of this move is to use it as a complementary move to Y standing 1-1. Y standing 1-1 is a duckable mid-high, safe 13 frames, and plus 11 on block should they not duck it. Plus 11 because it has the shackles follow-up. This move on counter completely guarantees Mourning Crawl 2-2 for a full heating nature. So how you want to use Y standing 1-2 is pretty much for people that keep ducking your Y standing 1-1. However, I don't think this is very useful, because minus 11 on block is still pretty unsafe. You will always either punish for them just blocking Y standing 1-2, and there's not really a need to duck Y standing 1-1, because Mourning Crawl itself doesn't really give a mix-up that, you know, is a bona fide mid-low mix-up or anything. Like, they can just keep blocking, and in the end, you're the one taking the risk. So again, I don't think Y standing 1-1 really serves a purpose outside of combos. It is plus 11 on block though, like up forward 1, and guarantees Mourning Crawl 2-2 and count it, or, you know, on normal hit should the second part of Y standing 1-1 hit on its own. But again, not really worth experimenting a lot around with. I died for this a lot, honestly, when I was trying to find out how to use these moves. So I'd refrain from using those. But again, they exist, they have a purpose, so I wanted to talk about them. Next up we got Y standing 2. This is not only your 15 frame mid Y standing launcher, it also tracks to your right. So if I do, you know, as you've seen just now, if I do a Y standing 2 out of crouch dash, it will track them for tracking to my weak side. Minus 12 on block, very decent range. Tracks sidewalk left reliably, gives a full launch. And as of Tekken 8, you also get quite a bit of damage from this move, as seen here. So, very important move. Y standing 3. I know that a lot of people were pretty hyped about this move because it guarantees an electric on counter hit, but let me tell you why this move is not that good. It's plus 9 on normal hit, minus 9 on block. Minus 11 on block actually, it's punishable. It guarantees a 14 frame move on counter hit, so you can decide between getting an electric or just the back to free for a heat engager. But it doesn't track to the Devil Jin's right at all. It only tracks to his left, which means that after down make 2, should they be playing on player 1 side, they can just walk your Y standing 3 to the left. Can't walk it to the right should they play on P2 though. There's not much use for it except catching mashers after down make 2. It's a good like a counter hit tool in this situation, but I can't think of any other situations where this move can come in handy, honestly. But it's a very good combo tool, so I'll give it that. It's very useful in combos. For example, should I do this, you know, 57 damage out of just 4 hits, pretty useful. Next up, Y standing 4. 11 frame mid Y standing move, minus 3 on block, plus 8 on hit. Can be done out of crouch dash for an easy mid poke, and you don't have to cancel the crouch dash really. You can just let go of the crouch dash and press 4, which is easier than doing an instant Y standing 2 out of crouch dash. Can also use it as a fast punish on a move that recovers in crouch with like Y standing 4-4, so let's say the Devil Jin, the opposing Devil Jin, whiffs the down 4 from this range. You can just go in like this and use this as a whiff punish, a very fast whiff punish even. So that's the use of Y standing 4. A quick mid poke that is pretty neat on block, like -3 is nothing. Move also has quite a slight pushback on block, So you can backdash and create whiff opportunities that way, or even sidewalk after -3. -3 is a great number, you can still do a lot after that. Next up, sidestep 2. This is your Hail Mary sidestep launcher. -22 on block, good range, huge damage potential. Can also evade highs like jabs in the animation, since Devil Jin goes to the side and then down a bit. Used with a lot of caution, as I said, launch punishable on block, but can be useful here and there, especially as a whiff punish should you do a step block and see that they just whiffed a huge move after your step blocked. Next up, ground it down 1+2. So if they're on the ground and you press down 1+2, you will get this laser. This functions as a stomp pretty much, or as a guaranteed follow-up to some moves. It does a lot of damage. It's an unparryable laser low, -60 on block at its worst, but like in the usual situations, for example, if I press, let's go to the wall real quick, and then set the bot to block all after. Like in this situation, for example, it will become -13. So people will think that this is launch punishable and try to launch it, when in reality it's not. It's only -13 in this situation and can give a quite neat mix-up at the wall. But personally, I haven't used this mix-up at all ever since I started playing this game. It's like what it would look like is this. Without the full break, obviously. So you either press down 1+2 or 4-4-2 here to get a small mix-up. But again, I haven't used this mix-up personally at all so far. The low can be safe on block even, like -8 should they wake up very late into blocking it, or even tech rolling into it. And the move on its own gives a guaranteed follow-up at the wall only. Oops, forgot of the full break again. As you can see here, gives a guaranteed follow-up. But this is pretty much the only use it has at the wall for spike situations, as a small mix-up, or as a guaranteed follow-up. Other than that, this move doesn't have any use anymore. In Tekken 7 it used to try to tech roll left completely, and then they would have to block a -8 laser low should they tech roll to the left and you set it up properly, but in this game they nerf both the tracking and the range of the move, so I don't find much use for this move anymore, sadly. Next up we got back 1+3. This is a very fast power crush. Not really a parry, some people mistake this for a parry. This move will get counter hit thrown by grabs for, the power crush frames. If you throw a power crush in this game, you will eat the throw guaranteed, you can't break it anymore. But still a very cool tool to have. In this game, it was made active from frame 4 to 13. Tekken 7 was active from frame 3 to 13. So got a slight nerf here, but still. Devil Jin gets a knockdown from a successful power crush here. Let me show you. If I set the opponent to, jab into jab, for example, or better yet, jab into down for 1. So I just ate the jab, I pressed the power crush, he got countered for it. He ate the knockdown. When you absorb a move while pressing back 1+3, there is a general rule in this game now where if you absorb a move while doing a power crush, it will become safe. This move used to be -13 on block should they somehow be able to block your power crush follow-up after pressing into it. This is no longer the case. You will be safe on block after you absorb a move, but it doesn't always guarantee the follow-up even if they press into you. Like sometimes the follow-up can whiff on moves that have pushed back after hitting you, and then you will be launch punishable on whiff. Use with a bit caution, but this is a very strong power crush to have. Very, very strong panic tool. Next up, Mourning Crow. The stance itself. This is very new to Devil Jin as of Tekken 8. And I do think it needs quite a bit of talking about because it can be confusing at first. But let's get right into it. Mourning Crow 1. 22 frames, +8 on block power mid that loses to sidewalk left, and jabs in generic +11 situation. So what this means is, if I set the bot to first standing blocking and then sidewalking to the left, he's able to sidewalk to the left. The other option he has here is just jabbing me out, because Mourning Crow 1 is I-22, I am +11, so it makes sense that the jab will stuff me out. In order to beat all of those options though, that will counter my Mourning Crow 1, I can press Mourning Crow 2 too. which is a 50 frame mid claw move that's homing. -14 crouch on block, first hit alone is -13. You use this to beat anything they do that isn't blocking after Mourning Crow transitions to, beat them for trying to counter Mourning Crow 1. Heat Engager, as I said, and both Mourning Crow 1 and Mourning Crow 2 are complementary moves to each other. Same way Vice-Stunning 1 and Vice-Stunning 1 2 are complementary moves, these two are also complementary moves. But these have much better synergy than the Vice-Stunning moves. You also have Mourning Crow 3, which is a stomp that flips them over should they stay grounded. Special mid and -7 on block. Can be jabbed out just like Mourning Crow 1, so not really that useful in Mourning Crow transitions. Launches on counter hit. Not much use in the neutral in my opinion, but very, very useful for Oki. For example, let's say that they refuse to wake up after they ate a knockdown, for example. Let's say after 1-1-2. You can press Mourning Crow 3 for a hefty 20 damage and a flip over into Oki. So, still useful here and there. And then you have Mourning Crow 4, which is only a combo tool. You won't use this ever in the neutral. It's -30 on block. They have time to Google the move and then punish you for it. That's how minus it is, so yeah, try to avoid using this move outside of combos. And then in Mourning Crow you also have the high unblockable Heat Smash, where he screams Naseo. This can be sidewalked to the right after up forward 1 on block, which I will demonstrate right now. But in order to beat that, they will have to take into account getting hit by Mourning Crow 1 and Mourning Crow 2. So still a very, very useful Heat Smash to have, and best used when it kills, like when they have 38 health or less. So next up I want to talk about Devil Jin Heat. We have now went over the useful moves he has in general. Now I want to talk about him in Heat quickly and then give you a short summary on his most useful moves so you have an idea on what to throw out in neutral. When in Heat, Devil Jin gains access to new moves and string extensions. You can enter Heat by either pressing Heat Burst, which is 2+3. You can cancel it with back, or you can just let the animation run out to get the full Heat Burst, +1 on block, and your Heat bar will start going down. Do note that if you press the Heat Burst, your bar will start at the lower at a lower place than landing a Heat Engager. So look at my bar now. This is about 2/3 of my bar should I press the Heat Burst. If I land a Heat Engager, I get the full bar. So how do you enter Heat with your Heat Engagers? What are your Heat Engagers? Your Heat Engagers are 4-4-2, up 4-4, back 2-3, back 3, and Mourning Crow 2-2. These are your 5 Heat Engagers. And what you get from being in Heat are the following moves. You get up 4-3 +4 1+2. Excuse me. This is a 16 frame power mid that is pretty much safe on block. Let me show you. -15 on block, but the pushback is so high that they will not be able to punish you in time should they dash into you. So it has a lot of mix-up potential if you think about it. It's a 48 damage power mid, but use with caution as it's insanely linear. It has huge with punish potential though. So this will be part of your space control plan when you're in Heat. Next up, CD 1+2, 1+2. This is a 26 frame power mid, as I said before, but it will launch them for a full combo on normal hit. As can be seen here. This move becomes so much more useful in Heat all of a sudden, even though it's so useless when you're in standing without Heat. The animation can be easily confused with that of Hell Sweep, because he spins around. And people will accidentally try to fuzzy for the sweep and then eat this move instead. This move is also homing, so should they try to sidewalk you, they will also get hit. Perfectly safe on block with the laser, only uses up about 1/4 of your Heat meter. So throwing it out won't really kill your Heat altogether. It's so good. This move is so good. So useful to throw out when you're in Heat. Also has 18 chip damage about or around, I think, should they try to block both extensions. Next up we got back for 2-4 1+2. Back for 2-1-4 1+2, sorry. This is the move. It makes 4-3 become a launcher, And I don't think this move is any useful from back 4 to 1 at all, unless you use it in combos. So let me demonstrate you a way to use this in combos. Actually, let me give you another example. Let's say I connect a voice standing 2, for example. Boosts up my damage quite a bit, as you can see. You can also use this as a wall combo after a long combo, for example after an electric carry combo. This is very useful in combos, but other than that I wouldn't use this move at all. Like in a neutral I wouldn't use back 4 to 1 for at all. For combo purposes, however, this is very useful for the extra damage. It will boost your damage a lot. You also got for free 1+2 in heat. This is a launching orbital pretty much. This finds use in combos where back 4 to 1 4 will whiff due to an excessive hit amount. This makes for free a launching orbital, as I said, but it's still overshadowed by CD3. If you really need an orbital that launches, just use CD3 instead. So again, this is also pretty much just a combo tool. You also get access to our heat smash from standing. This is a very strong heat smash. There might be people that watch this video in like 2 or 3 months time where the heat smash might have gotten nerfed already. From the point of time of recording this video, this move is pretty much homing, range 5. So very free to throw out. And gives us shackle on block situation. Should they block it? 1 second. So as you can see, I am +11, and it's the bread and butter shackle situation here. Either they jump my Mourning Crow 1 out, or they get hit by Mourning Crow 2-2, should they try to counter it, of course. And of course we also get access to the high unblockable from Mourning Crow. So these are the moves Devil Jin gets in heat, or Devil Jin in heat in general. Devil Jin in heat, keep in mind, is a space control monster. You can go in and mix them with CD 1+2, 1+2, but you can also opt to just stay at range 2 or 3 and have an insane whiff punish ready at all times. They can whiff from range 5 if they want to. You can still whiff punish them very easily, and even if it's blocked, you don't take much risk. It's homing, so you can also use it as a tracking tool, and obviously you can also just opt to mix them up with CD 1+2, 1+2, or up 4, 3+4, 1+2, or you can also, you know, go for the heat engagers, and should they land on normal hit, you get a full launch while you are in heat. You do use up your full bar for this though, so be careful, both on hit and on block. So, let's get to the summary of Devil Jin's best moves. Top 10 moves in my opinion that you should be throwing out as much as possible. First off, 1-1 and its extension. This move is just so good in the neutral, so good. Throw 1-1 out as much as you can, until you die for it. I swear, just throw it out until you die for it. Go around, try to create with opportunities with this move, back dash, sidewalk, do anything you want, it's only -1 on block. Should it hit, confirm it into the 1-1-2. Take your Oki. Should it not hit, you're only -1. Try to not get it ducked, because that's the worst thing that can happen to you. Try to not get sidewalked as much, but that shouldn't happen all too much, because the second hit of 1-1 is pretty much homing now. So again, this is easily his best move to throw out in the neutral. Super safe, super high reward, super easy to confirm. No reason not to throw it out here and there. Top 2, electric. And you know, you could have already guessed it without me saying it. The electric is just so good in this game. It's probably the best launcher that exists in this game, and there's just no reason not to throw it out here and there, and you will have to use it as both a punish and a keep out tool anyway. So again, the electric, throw it out in the neutral if you can. You can use it as a tracking tool, you can use it as anything if you put your mind to it, so long as they don't duck it. Top 3, CD4 1+2. There's just no way around of putting this move in the top 10 list when it's one of the best lows, if not the best low in the game. Having a launching low with full carry in this game is so valuable, and you will have to connect this move a lot. Top 4, 4-4-2. This move being a heat engager is so good. You land this move once, you immediately get get a mix up between CD 1+2, 1+2, or a health sweep. Or you can opt to do nothing, or you know, do 1-3 to keep your plus frames up. There's anything you can do, and on block it's perfectly safe. Has so much pushback that you can just return to neutral, and you know, even keep pressing or do whatever you want. It's such a good mid. You have to use this mid when you play Devil Jin. Another mid you will just straight up have to use is back 4-2. Because if you ever want to keep them from stepping you, unless they're at very close range, because then they can sidewalk the first hit. You have to use this move to keep them locked down. You have to. It's super important. This is your go-to bread and butter conditioning tool pretty much, to keep them from stepping you, and that's when you apply your mix-ups. Once they're conditioned from back 4-2, you start applying your mix-ups pretty much. Top 6. CD4-4. I think having a 38 damage power low in this game that will not give you any recoverable health is super strong. Even if CD4 1+2 is a 53 damage, CD4-4 not giving you any recoverable health means that it's a full 38 damage and +4 that they can do nothing about if they eat this move. And you get some momentum going with this move. So again, this health sweep extension, super underrated. I don't know why I don't see any Devil Jin players use this over CD4 1+2 at all, especially at the wall. Right after CD4-4, top 7 move, while running free. As I said before, Devil Jin doesn't function without while running free. This move is just insanely important for this character because it tracks to his weak side, gives you plus frames on block, and gives a neat situation in general, both on hit and on block, and wall splits even. So again, while running free, super important for your arsenal. Next up, 4-4-4. This move, I do think is very strong, so long as you're not getting counterplayed for it. Like, this move is super linear, especially when they sidewalk at range, but the reward you get from landing this both on normal hit, like a full mix-up on normal hit, or a full counter launch on counter hit, super high damage, and will carry, you know, this is insane reward. Insane reward. Like, in good hands, this move becomes top tier. So I would recommend throwing this out in neutral here and there, especially if they try to duck your up forward 1 in range. This move becomes super complementary to up forward 1. And I think synergy in a kit matters a lot. So this move and up forward 1 synergize pretty well with each other. Next up, Momo-Dog 2. This will be your go-to low poke until they start fuzzying for it. If they don't, go ham. Use this low as much as you can. Tracks well, +3 on normal hit, counter hit follow-up, and down 3 will track to the side where they have to step down back 2 too. So, you know, throw this out as much as you can. Super important neutral tool. Another top 10 move, in my opinion, down 4-4. Such a good long range tracking mid check. So useful to have. Maybe not the best tracking at like lighter frames, like +0 to +3, but after +4 this move just becomes godlike as a check. And confirming it into down 4-4-4 for like 26 damage, -4 on hit, I know, but you know, creates pushback on hit, so you can backdash and create with opportunities with this move. Super important move, top 10 easily. And then also some honorable mentions. Down 3, because it synergizes so well with down back 2. Up back 2, because it's a great homing move that guarantees a follow-up at the very least, and a launch in certain situations. Up 4, because it's such a great panic tool. Why standing 2? Because you need this move to track sidewalk left and get huge reward from it for very little risk. So like learning this from crouch dash is super essential for Devil Jin plays. CD 1+2, 1+2. Only in heat do I think this move is an honorable mention for top 10. And 4-4-3. So like Mourning Crawl alone. I think Mourning Crawl on its own in a neutral can be quite useful. Because should they try to counter your Mourning Crawl reaction, they will eat Mourning Crawl 2-2 most of the time, and if they don't, you get a +8 from it.
Now I know that this list of useful moves has become very long already, but I did really want to talk about those moves individually, just to give you a general idea on how to either use some of them or maybe give you some information that you were missing. But it's time to talk about Devil Jin's general game plan and wall game now, and I will leave the explanation for both of those to InVaines.
So now we're going to cover Devil Jin's general game plan. So Devil Jin is a character that is centered around pokes, movement, with punishment, and stage awareness. Whether it's on the offensive or relying on a more defensive keep-out game, Devil Jin has it all. He has answers to just about any situation that can occur throughout the game, and it's up to the pilot to decide what will be best in a given scenario. This especially applies to Devil Jin's heat mode, as he has so many amazing ways to apply heat in the match that it can be difficult to decide what would be best to use in a given moment. Like, do you want more damaging combos? Do you want strong space control? Or perhaps you saved your heat to the end, and now you just want to cash out and go for the kill. There's a lot to choose from here, and this is why extensive knowledge is a must to use this character effectively. To give a few examples on what he can do, he can enforce a pressure-based style with moves such as Electric Wind God Fist, Running 3, and 4-4-2 to push your opponent to the wall. And not only this, but as you're pressuring your opponent with these moves, you're also applying chip damage to the opponent with all these attacks. And this can all add up very quickly. And you can also poke with quick attacks like 1 jab, 1-1, down 4-4, down 4, and the likes to keep your opponent in check. And you can also use other moves like back 4-2 to counter the movement, as well as combine all these other moves with movement to keep the pressure on. Devil Jin also becomes a huge problem when given the opportunity to go for the kill, especially in this game, since his mix-up potential is so much more devastating. Like, he can, in this game, like before, he can enforce a full-blown offensive mix-up style with instant while staying 2, and crouch S4 1+2. Both of these have an insane synergy with one another, and this is just one example of the many ways you can score a huge amount of damage with this style. And overall, he just works. You can be a huge threat with a character when you set your mind to it, and he's also very rewarding in the process. So we're going to talk about Devil Jin's wall game. Devil Jin's wall game revolves around his very powerful mids, such as 4-4-2, up 4-4, back 4-2, and so on. The reward he gets off of these mids are very high, which will often force the opponent to always block mid, as the reward he gets off of the majority of his lows simply just don't compare to these moves. He does, however, have crouch dash 4-4, and especially crouch dash 4 1+2, which is brand new to this game. And this grants him an insane amount of reward, especially outside of the wall. And with all this in mind, this can lead into some very explosive mix-up potential, as he can go for hell sweeps on stand guarding opponents, as well as keeping them in check with tracking moves, such as back 4-2, staying 4, 1+2, and so on and so forth. Or you can also realign with a faster attack, so you can never give your opponent any room to breathe. So for example, 1-1-2 is a great way to keep your opponent in position at the wall, as it's a safe hit confirm, and laying this will let you score a knockdown into a mix-up. Something you want to take into account is that they cannot backdash your pressure here because, well, they're at the wall, of course, and wall spline moves will grant you much more reward here than they would out in the open. So you get a wall splat into a wall combo. So one thing you want to ask yourself is, what are they going to do to get out of the wall, and how can I stop this? One example I can give is, let's say your opponent will often attempt to sidestep away from the wall to escape Devil Jin's pressure. And an important thing to note is that when they're sidestepping away from the wall like this, it leaves them vulnerable to pretty much anything, like any move in the game, because they are not guarding when they do this. It leaves themselves open to, getting ball splat or even just about any attack. So as mentioned before, 2 ways you can do to stop this is to catch them with tracking moves, or you can rewind with faster attacks. In this case, 1-1-2. Your opponent will eventually start ducking once you establish Devil Jin's wall, and when they do, then it's pretty much open season. You can start applying his mids in response, and this will all set the mind game in motion.
So, next part of this guide will be Devil Jin's matchups. Personally, I think Devil Jin is a very neutral character in terms of matchups, I'd say. He seems to have no issues against a large chunk of the roster, but like most, he has a good time against like very big characters. For example, Jack and the Bears, because Electric becomes much harder to get around for those characters. As of the time of the recording, there are a lot of characters that are very, very strong. Anyone who watches this video anytime soon will probably know what I'm talking about. So it's pretty nice to have a character like Devil Jin that can keep up strength-wise. But still, most of the time it doesn't feel like Devil Jin is lacking against these characters, it's more like those characters are just too strong in general. So matchups themselves, in my opinion, are pretty okay-ish. I don't think it struggles against anyone in particular. It's just that characters are, in general, way too strong right now. And there are a lot of characters that need to get toned down a bit. Though unsure how many have an option to select for it, I think up for 1 and 2 Mourning Crow can be very annoying to deal with in certain matchups. For example, if they don't have very strong float combos or their jab string doesn't float properly, stuff like that. And there are also some characters where if you do up for 1 into nothing on block, their jabs will just straight up whiff. Or like their jab string even. Most of the time this is the case with legacy jabs. So like Mishima's, Kazuya's jabs for example tend to whiff, all that stuff. Generally, Devil Jin's punishment suffices for everything it needs to punish though. Having a long range 14 frame, long range 12 frame and a strong 10 frame punish, having a 15 frame standing launcher, and a long range 16 frame punish for pushback moves and similar. You have everything you need to punish very optimally in every single matchup. So it's up to you to make it work. Matchup knowledge is as important for Devil Jin as anyone else, so study your frames as much as possible, especially punishable moves and all that, because Devil Jin can make a lot of use with frame information, especially with punishment and all that stuff. Devil Jin may also excel in matchups with characters that rely on neutral tools, because Devil Jin's options are usually better, especially when he's in heat and is at range. So like, it gets easier for him to get the neutral game going against these characters simply because his neutral game in heat and at range 2 becomes so strong. So this is another part where Devil Jin straight up excels in this game.
Now that we've covered Devil Jin's matchups in a more general manner, it's time to talk about this 1-1-2 and back 1-2 Oki. I know that I've made a video on this specifically, but there's been a few changes ever since then, and InVaines will tell you what exactly changed and what kind of options you have now for both of those Okizeme situations.
Alright, so now we're going to go over Devil Jin's Mourning Crow stance. Mourning Crow is one of the brand new additions to Devil Jin's kit in Tekken 8. And this isn't your ordinary mix-up stance. Mourning Crow has all kinds of uses and is such an amazing addition to the character. He has multiple ways to go into this stance, such as 4-3, which is just a manual stance input by itself. And you can also dash into Mourning Crow by pressing running 3+4. And this may sound a little weird, but you'll definitely want to remember this part when I cover Mourning Crow Oki. This stance can be used to close the distance, and it also grants Devil Jin access to very strong mid-screen Oki, which I will get into in a bit. So, as mentioned before, he has multiple transitions into his stance, such as new down forward 2, which will only transition into Mourning Crow if it hits the opponent by holding forward. It will not come out if it whiffs or if it gets blocked, which is very good for this move. And then there's the infamous up forward 1 chain, which will transition into the stance on block or hit, but not on whiff. I won't go too deep into these as they've been covered in this guide already, but now we're going to go over general Mourning Crow Oki, mainly off of 1-1-2 and back 1-2. So how the rock paper scissors on 1-1-2 works for Mourning Crow is if they side roll in either direction, Mourning Crow 3 will catch them. If they side roll either direction or just stay on the ground in general, it will catch them. If they tech roll either direction, Mourning Crow 1 will track them, like this. And in this specific scenario, Mourning Crow 1 will connect on its later active frame on tech roll, so it becomes +9 here, which is pretty neat. since it's usually +8. So right here in this scenario, like me and Mourning Crow 1 +9, which is nice to know. And this is the case regardless if they tech left or right. Now, if they try to do wake up attacks here, I'll go ahead and set this to spring kick. Mourning Crow 2-2 will beat them out. There is one option they can do that'll beat every option of Mourning Crow, however. So I'm going to set the ground technique to quick recovery. Yes, so the time that I did hit him out of it, I delayed the Mourning Crow 2-2 there. But on a me Mourning Crow 2-2, it was the front flip Ukemi. Front flip Ukemi beats every single immediate option Devil Jin has at Mourning Crow, but this is a very big risk on their end, because in order to do this, they have to hold forward right as soon as they get hit by 112, so they're forced to commit to that action. And what this means, if you know the opponent is going to do this to beat your Mourning Crow options, you can bait the front flip Ukemi and launch him for it, since it's very unsafe on live. This Ukemi is honestly nothing too crazy, so it shouldn't discourage you from utilizing Mourning Crow Oki altogether. Back 1-2 is a little different. So pretty much the same concept applies to back 1-2, but there is a difference, is the distance. So you remember when I mentioned that you can dash into Mourning Crow by inputting running 3+4. So I'll show you, I had it like up backwards. So yeah, it'll just miss. But if you do running 3+4, you will be able to catch it that way, like this. Whoops. Like this. And as mentioned, everything that applies to 112 Oki also applies to back 1-2. Just the only difference is that you have to input running 3+4 instead of the normal input to cover the distance. Hit 3+4 there. Like that. And one more thing I wanted to cover here that I think is worth mentioning is this Oki applies to various things like after back 4 on ground opponents, which you'll get off of moves like Mourning Crow 1 or counter hit, back 1+2. Most of it still applies here with a couple of differences. So after back 4 in this case, they're left face down feet away, so you won't have to worry about any wake up attacks here, right? But if they tech roll left, immediate Mourning Crow 1 will miss. However, you can slightly delay the Mourning Crow 1, just slightly, to make it track this way. Like this. Just a slight delay will be enough. And this works for both sides. To catch both sides consistently. Like that. Just a slight delay will be good enough here. And other than that, pretty much everything else applies. So that will be it for Mourning Crow.
Let's get into Devil Jin's throw Oki, because I do think it's worth talking about this Oki situations after throws. Throws are insanely strong in this game, so you shouldn't refrain from using them with Devil Jin either. 1+3, generic throw. Devil Jin kicks the opponent to the ground and face up, feet toward, at range 1. This is pretty bad recovery. Oki is decent enough as it's Devil Jin, so if they try to get off the ground, you can get a mix-up on them, but the distance is short enough for a move to reach, so like Healthy will reach, 4-4-2 will reach, all this stuff. 1+3 is 0 unbreak, but Devil Jin recovers with his left side towards the opponent, so what this means is that you will pretty much have to use backturn moves should you try to keep them from pressing into you after having them break your throw. It'll look like this pretty much. and they can sidewalk all those back turn options, so not a great position to be in, and not that great of a throw to use either. 2+4. Devil Jin lasers his opponent down, leaves him at range 2 to 3 in the face-up feed away position, but you don't really get a mix-up from this. They're too far away, so by the time they stand up, they can interrupt their mix-ups. No side change on break. Next throw, down 4 2+3. As you can see already, you will use this throw on, for example, floor blast or floor break stages. This throw though leaves the opponent in a sideways face-up position. Standing up immediately after this throw will likely give you a back turn state, so you can maybe try to make work of a mix-up, because they will, be back turned, and they will have to. They don't really have time to wake up and press into you. So the Oki isn't that bad. But again, the best use for this move is using it as a floor break or a floor blast move. And it's only -2 on break, which is pretty unique for Devil Jin's down for 2+3, because the usual throw is -6 on break, about -6 on break. Next up, forward 1+2, or up forward 1+2. Both inputs work. This move will side switch on break, which can be pretty important if you're much weaker on one side than the other, or if you're trying to get away from the wall when the wall is to your back. This is Devil Jin's wall split throw. So at the wall, this will give you a neat wall split. Which will look like this. 57 damage from a throw, which is, nothing to scoff at all. This throw is pretty worth using actually, because if you hit it on normal hit in the open, and they don't tech roll, you get a guaranteed follow-up. Down 1+2 for example, or a dash up back 4. Forward 1+2 or up forward 1+2, should they tech roll though, leaves you so plus that you can get a full mix-up on them. So if I set the opponent to do a side Okizeme, for example, away from the wall obviously, I am so plus that I can just wave dash into him and mix him up. So this move gives excellent Oki, gives the opportunity for a follow-up, and wall splats. So this is a great throw to have, great throw to have. Then we got Obliteration, which is forward, half circle forward, 1+2. 45 damage throw, where pressing a down 4 will beat anything should they try to wake up. In order to beat this move, they have to lay on the ground, which will guarantee you a down 1+2. So you get a small mix-up from hitting this, basically. This move gives you only somewhat decent Oki, because again, you will get the small mix-up where your down 4 will hit them trying to wake up, and your down 1+2 will hit them for trying to stay on the ground. But those options can also leave them vulnerable for, should they try to just wake up backwards regardless, then you can just rush in and mix them up again. So the Oki is pretty nice. You get a small mix-up on should it connect, and it has the same frames on break as generic throws, so like it should be about -6 on break. Yes. So this isn't as good on break as down for 2+3 for example, so keep that in mind when using this move. Do note that you can buffer this move out of down back 2. Like this. So you get a somewhat full throw game from down back 2 on hit. And then you also got quarter circle back 1+3. This move doesn't really allow for much Oki as of Tekken 8 anymore, because they gave the wake up here, they made it so much faster that either your mids won't connect, should they hold back, or should they hold up, they can block your mid follow-ups in time. The opponent is tossed into a face-up feed away position, so the Oki isn't that bad, because, since they can avoid all your mid follow-ups by holding back or up, you can still just go in and try to mix them up. Still, it's the same situation as many other throws. Should they stay on the ground, you just have to accept that they're vulnerable to getting hit by ground hitting moves instead, and just take your dash back for down 1+2 and go on about your day. So that's Devil Jin's throws, and try to use them as much as possible, because throws in this game are homing. I don't know if this will still be the case in a few months' time, but right now, throws are great to throw out no matter what character, even if you don't have a full throw game. And Devil Jin now make 2 perfectly throws up a nice little throw game. Should they walk, should they try to press, they get hit.
Let's talk about Devil Jin's combos now. Personally, I believe that practicing combos and becoming comfortable with the character is more important than finding and doing staples written down somewhere. I will be linking my day 1 staple video regardless, since it's still relevant, but I think you should indulge yourself with the character in order to be able to do good combos even in your sleep. Learning by doing. Stuff sticks way better if you experiment with it yourself. If all else fails, just go with the staple video regardless. I do recommend experimenting a lot with down for 3 to 4 routes though, since they require a lot of wall awareness and practice to consistently pull off. I will now give you some wall carry options and some wall combos, and it will be up to you to utilize those. As you may have realized by now, playing Devil Jin is no easy task whatsoever. Just by the length of the guide, you probably already have seen that there's so much to this character that you have to learn, and you can only learn by playing the character. So don't get discouraged by losing or not having a lot of success with the character at first, because any Devil Jin player you know failed a lot with the character in the beginning. I would advise you to commit to the character as much as possible if your goal is to main him. And I would also advise you to not spend too much time on other characters if you're still in the process of learning the game. Stick to Devil Jin, try to learn the game as much as possible with him, try not to build too many bad habits at first, because that can happen very easily with this character since he has more gimmicks than any other Mishima basically. But again, try to commit to him because this character will definitely reward you for your efforts in the long run. Trust me when I say this. InVaines and Momo out. We hope that you learned a lot from this guide.